All right, and thank you all, and welcome back to another episode of Manga Cyphers. I'm one of your hosts, Sean.
This is your co-host, Jamal.
And this week we're taking a look at a manga called Eden. What the full name is?
Yeah, Eden, It's an Endless World.
Yeah, Eden, It's an Endless World. And Jamal's gonna kick some facts about who the author is, how many chapters is, the rundown, and then we'll get into the actual cipher.
All right, so Eden, It's an Endless World is a cyberpunk political thriller, post-apocalyptic manga. It's written by Hiroki Endo, and they have a North American publisher, Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, that's tight. I know it was Dark Horse.
Yeah, Dark Horse published it, and so for NA. Original run.
Dark Horse.
Yeah, yep. Original run is from 1998 to 2008. It has a total of 18 volumes, so not too lengthy. I think the total chapters like 120 something.
Yeah, we didn't read through all of it for this one, but I want to say we got to a good
first half of it.
Yeah.
There's like a little time skip in between the manga, so the first half gives you a good general idea of what this manga is about.
I guess when it comes to a basic idea, well, before we jump into that, how did you feel about it? How did you like it? Because this is your second read through.
Yeah, when I first read it was years ago. I just randomly, back then when I was looking for seinen mangas to read, I don't know, I was going through a little, I don't know, say a dark phase, but I wanted something mature to read. Like I got kind of worn out of the shonen genres. I was like, let me look for some seinen.
It happens from time to time because shonen is just, they sometimes don't touch on darker, or not darker, but just more mature content. And so sometimes you're just missing that. And seinen can definitely give you that. I was surprised as hell jumping into this because I thought it was a shonen. You learned real quick that it's not a shonen from the first draft.
So you want to give them a quick rundown, like what's it about?
Yeah, rundown wise, it's kind of scary with what's going on in the world right now, but there's basically like a disease that's taking over the world.
It's called the closure virus.
And it's basically turning people into stone, more or less. Like their muscles are paralyzed and they're just frozen
and
into
disfigured.
Place.
Not like Dr. Stone turning into stone, more like grotesque. Like
I think more maybe paralyzed. Like people who have it's like paralyzing because the person is still supposed to be conscious. Mm-hmm. They can't speak, they can't talk. They're kind of like in a vegetable state. But it follows the disease as it's going along, or it doesn't follow the disease, but
pretty much the after effects of what happened. Yeah. So,
and we're following. Well, the very first chapter, is a prologue, which introduces you to
the state of the world and the situation going on.
And then afterwards, you jump into actually following our main character, and it's basically you're following a boy in his teenage years, kind of navigating this world and coming to an understanding of what it takes to be a man in this world and what that means. As well, based off of his position and where he falls. And I forget what is his name again? Elijah. So we're following Elijah. So you get that prologue, which the prologue is pretty tight too.
Mm-hmm. It shows Elijah's father, Noah, and how he pretty much beats this upcoming group of Federation people who starting an organization, and he kind of like wipes them out with his robot friend.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot happening. It's just to be honest, because it's like a weird cyberpunk,
like Ghost in the Shell, but not like because the virus isn't the main virus is out there. It's pretty much the after effects of the virus because the virus wiped out 15% of the total population, and the effects of people living during this virus.
I would say it has the elements of like Ghost in the Shell being like technology and robots and like cyborgs and all of that. It doesn't touch as much on consciousness as Ghost in the Shell does, but it definitely, aesthetic wise, they're very familiar.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of stuff that happens. So,
I think Ghost in the Shell came out like mid 1990s. So if you can say this is like probably inspired by, with a different twist on it.
You could feel like these could be the same world.
Yeah, for sure.
But into the story, right? We follow Elijah first kicking off. I'm gonna be for real. I did not like him at first, because he
seemed naive.
Yeah, maybe
typical
that's a
young,
problem
naive
with me.
Protag.
It's like, damn, I want to follow mature characters who aren't like trick or fall for shit easily. But if you're a child, you're naive. Like it's part of it's part of the gig being as a child,
or a young adult, you know.
But definitely that first arc where we're first following Elijah. It's like his first time venturing out into kind of the unsettled part of the world, the part that's been retaken by nature from where the city is at, and he's just out there exploring with his robot buddy, and so it's pretty cool going so far. And then he runs into a guerrilla group, and then I feel like that's where everything first started kicking off and started going, because right there you start to get introduced to a whole bunch of different characters who
have unique personalities and different.
Their morals are all over the place. Yeah.
You have Sophie, she has a childlike body, but she's 41 years old because she transferred pretty much her brain.
Isn't she older than that?
Yeah, she's like about 41 years old. She transferred her body into a whole cybernetic vessel. And then you have Kenji, a Japanese guerrilla mercenary who's pretty much like Mikasa before Mikasa even existed.
Yeah.
The original Mikasa, he's just a deadly, 1v1 type guy.
And the cool part, we get all backstories for all these characters too. Like the author does a really good job at not allowing these characters to
just be there.
Yeah, just to be empty space. We get actual backgrounds for all of them. Like even from there's also the black guy who.
Oh, the black guerrilla member from the force. Yeah, he was. He had his little traumatic events when he was in a war and shit. Like he couldn't save this one girl that he wanted to, and he tried to redeem himself. or his reason of fighting was like, I'm gonna fight until, God deems it's time for me to die because I can't let go of my sins.
I'll say this one definitely touched on. I don't.
A lot of religion aspects.
Yeah, like heavy. Even in the prologue, there's a character named Adam. And they're basically in a Garden of Eden, and that Eden is supposed to become the new, they're him and another girl, because they have antibodies to protect them from the
virus
disease. They're supposed to repopulate the world, but low key it's impossible.
Well, they're immune. They're immune to the disease.
But this it touches on religion. Like the themes in here is real heavy. It's like religion, on what a man is and what a man would do for the people he cares for. There's like the one line from Elijah that it's like he didn't understand. His father told him a man can be incredibly cruel to everyone else, but incredibly caring to his family. It was like, yeah, I get that. Which is fucked up, because you're supposed to like love thy neighbor and all of that, and like care for everyone. But in reality, it's like, this is my tribe. I'm gonna keep my tribe safe. If you mess with my tribe, I'm in your tribe. And so it deals with those themes. To be completely honest, I really liked it. Like I haven't read a mature manga, a seinen manga, in a really long time, and so it was nice to jump back into this world where it's talking about tougher themes that I guess you have to like get into to understand what's going on.
For sure, because it deals with prostitution, it deals with drugs, the addiction of drugs, people on it, and how it affects them in daily lives. And there's the one arc with the drug cartel arc, which is
there's just a bunch of twists and turns, right? It goes places I didn't expect it to go, right? Because it went from, so we start out, we're in the wilderness, and we think the world is pretty like fucked. It's like, oh man, it's just Elijah and his robot out here, and they're guerrilla soldiers. But then you start getting introduced to like political drama.
Yeah,
and then they're able to gain passage into a safe city.
We have the proprietor federation, people who pretty much, of course, when the post-apocalyptic stuff happening, rising of different powers. So you have the proprietor who have this organization,
and then the actual drug cartels.
Drug cartels that are trying to control, and they're pretty much fighting different religious groups and vying for power and control over the world.
And so the
areas. And
I feel like the pacing, I want to congratulate the pacing so much, because it goes from like, all right, everything, it gradually escalates, and the conflict escalates in what our main character is dealing with. Like it goes from like those first couple chapters where Elijah is just trying to hunt and kill a rabbit, and he's having difficulties with that, to
him gunning people down with a sniper,
full on gunning people down with a sniper, to him having to learn the lesson that his father said, and take that stuff to heart. Because it's like I'm saying, Elijah is naive as shit, and he's naive in the sense that he's a good person too.
Well, he tries to believe what he's doing is good. Then he realizes, like, you know what, the world isn't black and white.
No,
I got to do what I got to do to protect the people I think is scared. And the thing about it, there's no choice that's like, the choices that they make to do good, it doesn't always pan out and works the way you think it will. It's like he wants to save somebody, like one of his family members.
Because there's no good, like,
nothing. It feels like
no
a bad
good
taste.
Choices,
yeah, it's like, damn, bro. Like, you would think, okay, do good, the best thing, good outcome. It feels like shit. Nothing happens. Everything that happens goes to shit.
The thing that you get to while watching it or reading it, my bad, it's the fact that, like, the choices that Elijah was making, right, is choices that he felt was a good choice, and he didn't account for all of the negative consequences that may come from it. Because it's like that one choice he made in the story, right? He runs into it after Elijah is able to get back into the city and everything like that. He's staying in the he's staying in the brothel, and in the brothel there's it's like Jamal mentioned, drugs. There's one particular prostitute who's addicted to heroin. And Elijah, he feels really connected to her because his sister was on heroin, and
his dad is a drug cartel lord,
but he doesn't sell heroin.
Yeah, he sells coke. I mean, he's a coke dealer, but still,
he got class.
Drugs is drugs. But go on.
But
sorry.
But he feels really connected to this girl, and he feels connected to the daughter. He starts building this dope relationship with both of them, and he's like, man, the only way that you ever can really get help is going to a rehab place. And he's like, I got money. My dad is like, Elijah got. We're saying he's living in the prostitute's house, the brothel.
He has money. He
doesn't have to. He just doesn't want to go.
He doesn't want to go.
And so he's like,
I can help treat her.
I can help treat you. And everyone is like, no, that's a bad idea, because there's another gangster who's in love with her, and that's a whole other situation happening. But he's like, no, this is a good choice. This is a good decision. I'm going to help her.
But then,
when all the prostitutes leave one night, he gets her and ships her off to a rehab place. And then one of his main girls who was helping him get her ass beat by the gangster dude. And it's just like, yeah, what you did is a good choice, but your good choice had consequences, and you didn't take into account for those.
It's like, I don't want to say it leaves you with a bad taste, but it makes you realize, like Sean said, there's consequences for the choices you make, whether they're good or bad.
It's not black and white.
It's not black and white, because like you can do, just because you did one thing doesn't mean nothing's gonna happen. You did this. These are the consequences of what you just did. Whether it be good or bad, it still happened. So that's why you get that feel for this.
It's like I said, I want to give kudos to the author, because the author doesn't allow you to get away with just being able to say, yes, I'm on Elijah's side, right? Be like, nah, she's a drug addict, and it's wrong that the other, I forget the other gangster's name. I'm terrible with names, but the main gangster in that chapter, he's like, I'm not just gonna give you a faceless protagonist, and I'm gonna tell you why he's so
attached to the prostitute that he loves,
and why he went to such lengths to like harm this
Pedro,
other.
But I might be wrong too.
It may be, but it went to such extents to harm this other prostitute, to the point that he like He broke old girl eye.
Yeah, no, he didn't break. He he took her eye out.
Yeah, like she have a glass eye now, and then he's like, nah, but I'm not gonna leave this as a nameless character. It's not, you don't get one note character. It's just like, hey, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna learn the backstory of Pedro from the time he was a child growing up in this rough city
in the slums until him becoming a drug lord or a rival drug lord for Elijah's dad's right hand man in the area that Elijah's in. Yeah, Tony.
And it's just, he's like, I'm gonna teach you all of these different things, and he really makes you question what is a good decision and what's a bad decision, and if this is a selfish, I think it was a selfish decision, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, it's what Elijah wants, right?
It started seeming like you're only doing it for your conscience to be, free. But yeah, what's her name? Helena. She said it too. She's like, you wanna get her help with drug money that your father used. Like, look at that shit. It doesn't even make sense.
It's so tough, right? Because when you first look at it objectively, right, you're like,
oh, he wants to get her help. That's good.
Yeah.
But that's drug money that he's trying to use to get her help. You're trying to help a druggie get off drugs by using money that was made with drugs.
It's dirty money.
It's dirty money. Exactly. I wish this had an anime, honestly.
Yeah.
It's not old, but
I think it's too mature though, because throughout this thing, the violence is
bad
on another level. Like, people are being blown up. We mentioned the black guerrilla soldier. He literally gets blown apart. There's a lot of abuse in here. There's some
rape, sexual assaults, different forms of that.
There's even, Jamal mentioned one character in here. You mentioned Sophie.
Oh yeah, Sophie.
And Sophie is just a psychopath.
Her backstory is pretty tough because she's pretty much a terrible mother. She has like 7 kids, and she felt like she cared for none of them.
It literally, one page that kind of made me sit up when I was reading it is, excuse me. One page that made me sit up was when it's going through Sophie's backstory, and Sophie she's dealing with trauma. Too,
yeah, right? Everyone has their baggage.
Yeah,
everyone
has dealing with trauma, baggage. And like, she have the depression, and she was so numb. She slit her baby's neck because she wanted to see if she would
feel something. Yeah. She felt nothing. She has sex with all these guys. Mm-hmm. She feels nothing. But she stabs herself. She feels nothing.
The page where I wasn't, sometimes they're like, hey, we're gonna tell you that she did this thing, but no, he's like, I'm gonna draw this shit. And so it shows the baby, it shows her like pulling the knife, and then the page next to it is actually the blood stain and everything like that, and you're like, whoa, it's a little heavy.
We don't want to kid you. This manga is not for the faint of heart. So if you do not like mature things, I'm not gonna say I don't want to recommend it to you, but I'm just saying it's not maybe something for you to read. But if you read Eden before, or
I think it's just it's a mature manga, right?
Yeah, we can't sugarcoat it.
But I think it's a fun manga. I love the themes and the topics that they're talking about throughout it. I love the characters that we run into, and even if I said like Elijah is annoying,
he becomes better.
He becomes way better, and I love the progression of his character, right? Because you meet this naive, gullible
13-year-old, 14-year-old, something like that,
innocent child, right? Who kind of have like he's okay in this world because of his dad, but you get to watch his journey to. It's like we said, the quote that his dad said. It's basically watching Elijah come to an understanding
with his own father
about that. Yeah, and I think that's cool to see. I even like towards like the end, after the 3rd arc, before we get to the time jump, right? Mm-hmm. We get a little like low, and we get just like humor stuff, and we get him living in the brothel and what's that like, his relationship with one of the prostitutes there. All of that is really fun. The author does an awesome job at I keep saying it, just making these characters feel real, right?
Like, you can go and see, like, I've seen a character, or I've known a character like this. People who've known somebody who's been addicted to drugs, or who've done the prostitution, or just some type of emotional depression or anything, you can relate to these people, or you know somebody who
he illustrates those emotions really well. It's a good manga. It's definitely one that I'm gonna finish because there's like two stories going on too. There's an overarching story happening with the political aspects of this world and like the proprietors dealing with different stuff like that. And then there's the story of Elijah and we're following him. It's a fun manga. Well, it's an enjoyable manga. I think
it's not fun.
Because it's not fun
read.
everywhere. But it's an enjoyable read. It's something that can suck you in. It gives you those pause and those moments where you have to like sit and think, is this what do I think about this idea and topic that he's presenting, and like how credible is it?
Would you wish for this to get an anime? You think it would be good in an anime format?
I don't. If they did it, like, what's that one thing on Netflix?
Netflix, like an original Netflix thing?
Like an original Netflix thing.
Like Devilman Crybaby?
Yes. If they did it, if they're willing to go to like the length that Devilman Crybaby went to with like
that's for sure. Yeah, I think they can do it.
Then yes, because like
you don't want them to come out with it.
I don't want them to like dilute it. Yeah. Right? Because I think
you will be ruining what this whole thing's about.
Because I don't think the blood and gore, I don't think it's excess, right? There's some stuff where it's used as an excess. I think everything that he's using, from the sexual relationships that's happening to the showing how intense the deaths are, I think it's all elements that add tone and seriousness to the story. And I think sometimes animes can dilute that. And I think sometimes when you're reading it, it's a little more powerful. I'm on the fence. I think it would be good as an anime. I don't know how much appeal it would have, but then again, that cyberpunk, like Ghost in the Shell aesthetic would be tight to see.
I agree.
But I think overall for this one, I really enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable read. I was going to say fun again. If you got a couple hours in your day, I'll say sit down and check this one out. The art style isn't bad either. It's also pretty enjoyable. If you had to compare how it looks, what would you say it looks similar to, artist-wise, compared to another manga?
That's tough, honestly. I'm not sure. I can't. Nothing comes on top of my head right now. But
because would you say it's in that era of like 90s mangas like Flames, Eureka, and stuff like that when it comes to drawing style and appeal?
Yeah, but it also looks like it ages well even when I'm reading it in 2020. Because this is from 1998 to 2008, and in 2020 it still looks good. It looked good to me back when I first read it. So it ages great. It ages gracefully. Like it's not something that you can say like this looks dated.
It's not like,
because the style in the world
like
looks like it's futuristic. Yeah, nah.
What? It's not like we're looking at like the Gundams anime from like the 80s.
Oh no, for sure no.
Okay.
It doesn't look. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't look dated when I read it or watch it.
No, I agree.
Or watch it. I mean, read it. They know anime.
I say definitely check it out if you are looking for like a serious, but still enjoyable, because the author throws in a lot of humor in there too, right? If you're looking for a serious and it's pretty funny manga with some serious tones and themes happening.
Lots of serious tones.
Then I say check it out, because it's like we're saying, those themes are like topics on it's talking about trauma, how people deal with it, and how that begins to manifest in their life. It's talking about what would you do as a man to keep your tribe safe, and what extents do you go to for your tribe, and how this compassion works with other people when it comes to that.
Yeah, so anybody in the comment section, if you read it before or haven't, looking forward to reading it, just let us know what you think.
Yeah, but As always, thank you all for listening. My name is Sean.
It's your co-host, Jamal.
And we'll be with y'all whenever we get back to y'all. But y'all have a good one now. Thank y'all for listening to Manga Cyphers. Bye.